What's up, Ada Nation? And welcome to Dapp Central, your home for everything blockchain and crypto. My name is Fareed. As a part of today's live stream, I'm joined by none other than fellow content creator Josh from Late Game Crypto. We're going to be diving into everything Cardano. So we've got a jam-packed update touching on the launch of USDM, the ADA ETP, centralized exchange listings, as well as some of the top gainers, losers, and just everything going on here in this growing ecosystem. Without any further ado, let me go ahead and bring the man up himself. Josh, good morning. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. Thanks so much for having me.
It's a pleasure. This has been long overdue. We had the Cardano Consensus series kicking off about a year ago, and it's just been off and on. We were very sort of consistent at the beginning, but as my duties and your duties have kind of grown, we've kind of been a little bit fickle in terms of the scheduling, but it is good to have you back here. As always, thank you for giving us this early time here on your Saturday. So that said, I mean, how are you feeling about the entire market, man?
It's hard not to be excited about the market. I mean, like everything is looking up. Fundamentals are increasing across the board, every which way that you look at it. Interest is rising. You can see it happening. I still haven't gotten to that stage where like my friends are asking me what's going on with crypto. So you know, we're still early. We're early in the market cycle, in the bull cycle, and I'm so excited about it.
Yeah, this will be my bull fresh out of a bear. I think in times past, I've walked away from the space. This time, we endured. As content creators, I know it was a very difficult time for people like me, you, Pete, Paul, and now it's crazy how much interest there is again in crypto content, everything Cardano, and obviously just the entire space. So I think it's really refreshing. It's kind of giving me like a burst of energy and a little bit of more motivation to continue, not just getting better, but just being consistent in this space. So again, thank you. If you guys are not already subscribed to Josh's channel, please make sure to go and check it out. I've left the links to it down below. He covers everything Cardano. He highlights some of the projects. Actually, you've done a really good deep dive of a few projects, which I actually want to touch on, Meld being one of them. So if you guys have not subscribed, check out his channel. Like I mentioned, today we're going to be diving into USDM. I did reach out to the team. Hopefully we can actually get one of them on here later in the stream. I'm not going to hold my breath to it, but we may get a member here to talk about the official launch, which should be taking place sometime today. Now, we also saw Liquid listing a ETP, or an exchange traded product, on the SIX Swiss exchange, which was a pretty big piece of news there. I actually found out that we had a prior listing back in 2020. So this was the second listing in the European or the Swiss region, which was obviously really good. And then I believe there's actually two within the US, one being done by Grayscale and one being done by 21 Shares. There's also been a lot of talks about centralized exchange listings. One of the projects that you talk about very confidently, Cornucopias. They just listed on Mexi, and I believe there was a second one. The name is slipping my mind right now.
BitTrue. It was BitTrue.
Perfect. And that has been huge. Their token has gone from 1 penny last year, I remember during Rare Bloom, all the way now to a new all-time high, breaking 11 cents. So Kopi has officially 10x. I think it's just the beginning. I definitely think 100x is on the horizons. If you guys have not been keeping up with the Kopi cafes, this team has been delivering all around, like literally in every facet, right? Not just the game, but then even marketing, collaboration with creators. I saw Ivan on Tech is now coming on board. You know, a lot of progress here coming in from that team. So I do want to quickly talk about that. And then we're just going to jump into some of the narratives for this year. And then, of course, we're going to take community questions along the way. Big shout out to Studio Malacca, David tuning in. We've got Brody tuning in. We've got Augustin Franchella tuning in as well. And then we've got Just a Gal tuning in. So thank you all for spending your wonderful Saturday morning. If it's morning where you're at here in the United States, it is the morning, with us here to talk about everything Cardano. Let's maybe just kind of kick things off here, and then I'm going to turn it over to Josh for some commentary here with the weekly Cardano development report. So this just coming in here from the Cardano Foundation. If you're not aware, this is posted every single Friday. As it stands, we've got 160 projects launched, over 1,300 builders, now nearing 40,000 Pluto scripts thanks to Axo. In terms of key highlights, we've got a new Cardano node version being released. So if you're an SPO or you're delegated to an SPO, make sure that they've upgraded to the latest node version. There's also some upgrades coming down the pipes for Mithril and their Explorer. And then we've also got the vote casting beginning for funding round number 12. So there's going to be a kickoff. I believe there's 6 locations where they're going to be having an actual launch event for Project Catalyst funding round number 12. This will be the first one, I believe. And you can actually vote via the Project Catalyst app if you registered as a part of funding round number 11. So make sure to go ahead and take that time to vote. And I believe it's 1 wallet per vote. They've also updated the Cardano developer course. So again, just quickly touching on some of the highlights there, jumping next into TVL. As it stands right now, we've got over 631 million ADA currently staked. One thing to note about this year is that we've been chopping in this range for, I would say, about 5 to 6 months now. We haven't really been able to break out of this range. So, Josh, I'm maybe kind of interested in hearing about what your thoughts are surrounding that. I know that we saw a huge uptick when it came to TVL when we had the mini sort of bull run when it comes to DeFi last summer, right? We saw a lot of projects, for example, like Muesli Swap. We saw a lot of projects like LenFi and even Indigo really skyrocketing in price. And we saw a lot of people rotating out of their ADA positions that was delegated into some of these Cardano native assets, and then also into providing liquidity to some of these protocols, which I think really boosted the TVL. Now, since then, again, we haven't been able to break this range, but I'm curious to hear your perspective, Josh, as to why you think that might be. So I'll get to you here in just a second. Now, in terms of the USD valuation, we did briefly break over, I believe it was $500 million. So if I actually toggle this here back to USD, as you can see, we did briefly touch, I will say it was about $459 million. Let me see here, actually. Boom. There we go. Got to be a little bit precise there. I can't get it to be there to be precise, but it was just about $500 million. Now we're sitting at about $458 million. Cardano is aiming to break that 80-cent range. We just tapped it I want to say about 4 days ago, right? But we weren't able to actually stay up there. As soon as we tapped it, we saw Bitcoin flash crashing, losing about 3,000 points. And ADA right now currently sitting at about 70 cents. So we could potentially get another try here. But really, really interesting to see how quickly the Cardano ecosystem has begun to grow. Jumping into the top performers, we've got Indigo coming in number 1, $114 million. Number 2, MintSwap. Number 3, Liquid, in which we're going to be talking about the recently listed ETP, and the fact that their token price is now up over 60% since the recent listing. We've got A Starter, followed by LenFi, Jed, and of course, we're expecting Mehen to hopefully come online as well, which should add significant amount to the Cardano TVL. So, Josh, quite a bit there for me to jump into. Let me just quickly jump into some of these comments here. We've got Trim Brusette joining us. Trim, welcome aboard. If you do want to jump on the stream, Trim, just go ahead and send me a ping. I'm more than happy to get you on here to chat. You bring a lot of knowledge and a lot of insight into the space, but I know that you're working with the team at IOG to figure out exactly how much you can actually share when it comes to what you're doing, etc. So if you want to join us, let me know. I'll get you here. We've got G Boopy tuning in. We've got N Fran. We've also got Glafkos. Huge shout out, Glafkos. Thank you to my favorite Cardano content creators and educators. Great work, guys. Keep it up. The community needs your insights and analysis. We appreciate your support as well. And that's actually what keeps us going. So we appreciate that. We've got Grandiose. Let's boost TVL with USDC. Grandiose, I've got to give it to you. Every time that you're leaving a comment, it's always in support of USDC. There was a recent chat, and if you didn't check it out, check it out. It's on Paul's channel, where he sat down with Frederick Regard, and he was basically asking him, where are things when it comes to USDC? Frederick was actually kind of shy, right? He wasn't answering the question directly, but he said that he's doing that because he doesn't want to mess up anything when it comes to negotiations. Now, if it were to happen, I believe it wouldn't actually come online until next year. So that gives Mehen quite a bit of lead room to get adoption, integrations, and to get a lot of the Cardano community on board before something like USDC comes on. But again, Grandiose, thank you for tuning in. We've got Fart Burp as well. And then again, we've got G Boopy. So, Josh, I just broke down some of the TVL insights there with Cardano not being able to break past that 600 million ADA stake. Any thoughts surrounding the developments or TVL in general in the ecosystem?
Yeah. So when it comes to TVL, I think that the Cardano's in a kind of unique position where like all of our TVL is based off of ADA because we don't have any stablecoins up to today. But we don't have any fiat-backed stablecoins on the chain that are like, really big retention-based assets. So the TVL has been increasing against the US dollar value because the price of ADA has been appreciating. So that's I think where that's coming from. But I think that the reason that TVL has stalled when it comes to the ADA that has been supplied on chain is well, I mean, a couple of reasons. Like TVL moves a lot like price. It can't just go straight up. Like eventually, liquidity will kind of run out among the believers of the community, or people will want to wait and see what happens. Like, you know, things have to move in a much healthier pace. So things go up and then they stall out. Things go up again and then they stall out. And that, in my opinion, is the healthiest way for markets to move when it comes to price, when it comes to TVL. So I'm enthusiastic that we are in a stalling phase right now, because that big boost that we saw of people coming into the Cardano ecosystem, that was people in the greater cryptocurrency space discovering that, oh crap, stuff on Cardano is actually building. There are actually products here that are worthwhile and quality. There's a lot of stuff here that's happening that people are discovering for the first time, and it's just those like crypto enthusiasts that are excited about crypto, that are ideologically aligned with the principles of the industry, that are interested in the different creative ways that blockchain-based products can manifest itself. So that's where that first leg up is coming from. This next leg up, I think, is going to come from the rush of people coming in because a stablecoin is finally here. What's really exciting about the whole stablecoin thing is, and I've talked about this on a lot of my videos before. In the last bear market, in the last downturn, ADA lost value harder than a lot of other layer one cryptocurrencies, and that was because it had to. Cardano didn't have a stable coin where people could put their value into, where it could be stored against the like drops of the bull market that was going to happen across the board. So they had to take their ADA, send it off chain, or send it to a centralized exchange and put it into a stable coin like USDC or USDT, something where they could store their value for the bear market. Once the USDM comes live and it gets proliferated and people have access to a stable coin that they can put their value into, that increases the fundamentals overall of Cardano. And it increases its capacity to retain that value. So this next bull market cycle, like when we start coming back down, it's not going to go down as hard as it had to before, because people are going to be able to store their value directly on the Cardano blockchain. So they're not going to be forced to. They have options now on chain. It's a huge win for the Cardano ecosystem, seeing that reliable opportunity that is brought to the Cardano blockchain. I think it's going to be absolutely massive. It might not be something that sends the price of ADA like right off the bat. This is the kind of fundamental increase, sort of like what we saw with the Bitcoin ETF. That's a big fundamental access point that increases the capacity of Bitcoin to be able to go to new all-time highs, 100K, 250K, wherever you think it's going at the end of this next bull market. Like those ETFs provide the capacity to be able to get to those places. And in the same way, the enabling of a fiat-backed stablecoin that's reliable, it enables Cardano to do the same. And it's not going to take off right away, just like Bitcoin didn't take off right away when the ETF launched. It's going to be something that increases the capacity of different things to be done directly on the Cardano blockchain. And that's what's most exciting about this weekend.
You've mentioned a couple of key points that I actually want to jump into. Before I do that, we've got Wesley in the house. What's up? He's been trying to get me to say that for the longest. I finally got it out the way there, Wesley. Please don't ask me to do that ever again. We've got Thug Nasty tuning in here. We've got Fart Burp talking about the algorithmic stable coins, which Charles has actually mentioned that is his preferred method as well. But I think that we're extremely early when it comes to algo stable coins. But I think that will be the way, and that will be the future. We've got Thug Nasty tuning in here, showing tons of love here for Josh LDC. Your content is great. I love your channel. Thug Nasty, we appreciate you as well. I do want to mention a couple of things here. So the first thing you mentioned is people being able to keep their assets on chain. Such a huge key piece here, because last bull market, or last bear market, I should say, when we had that transition, you had to off ramp. That was either into another blockchain, completely out of the ecosystem back into fiat or into USDT or USDC again on some other chain where it's actually native. So this time being able to do that, I think that, as you mentioned, when the bear market comes, we're not going to see this dramatic decrease that we saw last time, which is noted here, right? Where we went from about 308 million all the way down to about 60 million, right? So about a drop of 70 or so percent. I don't think we're going to see that big of a drop off again. Now, keep in mind that let me actually switch over here. We should be looking at the ADA chart, not the USD value, because the USD value will inevitably drop when the value of ADA drops against the dollar. But I don't think that we're going to see a decrease like this when it comes to stable coins, or excuse me, when it comes to TVL. Now, another thing I want to quickly mention with USDM, and this is actually going to be the next topic that we're going to jump into. You mentioned, people being able to keep their assets on chain. In addition, people can now on ramp and off ramp using USDM without having to go through something like Coinbase now or Binance. So I'm really curious as to how platforms like that are going to take it. Obviously, Cardano is just one of many chains, but imagine a space in an era where we've got multiple networks that now have adoption for their own sort of native stablecoin that offers their own sort of fiat on ramp and off ramps. In addition, we're also waiting for a ZK project or a ZK project catalyst proposal, which should allow for peer-to-peer on-ramping and off-ramping, right? So imagine me being somebody who wants to bring my fiat into Cardano, and I want to do that without utilizing Coinbase or Binance. The team from Endcoins is putting together, and they've actually been funded with a proposal to provide a ZK-based exchange, to where there's going to be a smart contract in the middle. There's party A who has ADA. There's party B who has a bank account. There's going to be some verification steps in the middle, but you're basically going to send your fiat to another bank account in exchange for the ADA that's already on chain. Again, really, really interesting idea when it comes to circumventing platforms like Coinbase and Binance. So I'm interested to see exactly how they're going to sort of respond as more platforms begin to take this non-custodial or this non-centralized way of onboarding and offboarding. Another thing I want to quickly touch on, and as we actually pivot into USDM, is going to be how can we put those stable coins to work for us during the bear market, right? I think we need to begin to think about those things, whether you're providing liquidity to a DEX, right, for a trading pair, for example, ADA/USDM, or whether you're providing your USDM as collateral or a borrowable asset on something like Lenfire Liquid in order to keep that working for you during the bear market, right? Now, keep in mind there is risks associated with that, but these are things that we need to begin to think about now before we actually get to the point where we're in the stable or in the stable assets. So I wanted to raise a couple of those things here. Let's actually jump into USDM now, and then we're going to jump into the comments here for the community Q&A. So we have USDM officially launching today. Again, I did reach out to the team. I haven't heard back from them yet. I will be sitting down with them, I believe, this coming Thursday. So if you guys have any questions for that, let me know down below. Now, before I dive into their recent integrations and partners, I do want to go ahead and just quickly launch a poll for the community watching. So you guys should see a poll here if you're watching live, in which you can basically answer as to whether or not you plan on minting USDM as a retail investor when it goes live. Right now, I believe it's only available for institutional investors and businesses, but the team should have this ready to go within the next couple of days. So let me know what you guys think down below. We're going to take a look here in just a couple of minutes to see what the majority of the community will be doing when it actually comes to minting. Now, keep in mind, if you don't want to mint, you can always pick it up here from a DEX. And this actually leads us into this MintSwap proposal. So we've got the USDM team partnering up with MintSwap, the largest DEX here on the ecosystem. I just showed they were number 2 in terms of TVL with nearly $100 million worth of assets locked on their protocol. Now, what they've done is they've actually provided a proposal for the community to vote, which I'll jump into here. And this is done by BlockJock, a key contributor here to the Mayhem protocol, in which he's basically provided a poll for the community to vote as to opening up an ADA/USDM pair. And the treasury from MintSwap will actually be used to mint USDM. So they're going to mint USDM, take that, and then actually open up a liquidity pool for anybody else who's in Cardano that wants to get access to it that doesn't necessarily want to mint. So option 1, we've got 125K USDM being minted with an equivalent amount of ADA being put up. We've got 80K for option number 2, 65K, 55K, and then 40K. Josh, I maybe want to turn it over to you to ask you what option you would vote for. If you do hold the mint token once this comes online, you will be able to use your tokens in order to make sure that your voice is heard. I think the answer or the choice for me, though, is clear. 125K, the more liquidity, the better. I think we're going to see a lot of people beginning to swap their ADA for USDM. So we may actually need to make sure that the pool stays full of USDM, because there will be, in my personal opinion, a lot of people looking to pull USDM out, not necessarily put USDM in. So Josh, what are your thoughts surrounding this? And then I want to jump into a couple additional proposals.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't thought about this one deep enough, but like right off the bat, option one, like more, I think the thing that is really going to transform how we do DeFi on Cardano from starting this weekend onward through the rest of this year, it's going to change everything. Like I know a lot of Cardano people out there only deal with Cardano and they don't interact with a lot of other chains, but on other chains, the primary asset of like trading is stable coins. We don't do that on Cardano because we don't have one up to this point. So like I think that there's going to be a whole new market created with USDM coming on. I think that there's a lot of Cardano fans out there that are starting to come back into the market. And I think that there's a lot of value that's not held on the Cardano blockchain that will come into USDM, provide liquidity to their treasury, and then start interacting with the Cardano ecosystem through that end of it. So more liquidity is going to facilitate the ability to do higher volumes of trading. And I think it's best to be prepared for that. So I'd go with option one.
Nicely stated. And again, I think it only makes sense. As this grows, I would assume that we'll get to the point where there's $1 million worth of assets being locked in those liquidity pools. And then also keep in mind, this is only one single DEX, right? So we have Wing Riders, Sunday Swap. Who else do we got? We've got, I believe, Splash will be coming out here. They've announced a partnership already with USDM or with Mehen. And so these are all going to be additional protocols or platforms where there are going to be additional liquidity pools to get access to USDM. Now, let's jump into, let's see here, the Genius Yield team. So this is actually another DEX as well. Again, I'll be sitting down with them, but we're going to see USDM available there as well. Now, keep in mind that this will be in order book style DEX, so there's not going to be a liquidity pool, but I believe the USDM team will be setting up a market maker bot, which will basically be setting up different types of trades, right? So you're going to have liquidity at different price levels, which basically make it easier for anybody who wants to jump in and pick it up there from a order book style DEX with a little bit less fees, the ability to do so. Keep in mind as well, the Genius Yield team has their accelerated yield event, which is currently ongoing, which basically means that as you trade on their DEX, the more points you earn, the more of the fees and the revenue you're actually going to earn from the actual protocol itself. So I believe there's all the way up to about 20 or so tokens that you can earn by trading right now and by staking your gens directly on the Genius Yield DEX. Moving over here, we have the USDM team partnering up with Splash. So Splash will be an order book style DEX as well. They have just announced their pre-sale, but it's really good to see the Mehen team front running all of this information, right? So they're already aware of all these platforms that will be coming along, and they've done the due diligence and the work well ahead to make sure that this is already integrated into these upcoming protocols. I believe in their last update, they've mentioned a total of 24 integrations or 24 protocols that they'll be adding support for USDM. Most notably, this is a huge one here. I highlighted this in one of my prior updates. We've got the ability, or a proposal, I should say, to add USDM to be able to mint iAssets. So Indigo, a synthetics protocol, TVL right now, they are number one, $114 million. Imagine being able to mint IBTC, IETH, or IUSD utilizing USDM. Right now, you can only use Cardano. But again, keep in mind that because of the price fluctuation in terms of the USD value of Cardano, that can put you in a very sort of scary situation if the price of Cardano crashes. So when you're minting an iAsset utilizing Cardano, it can be a little bit more risky. However, right now in a bull market where the value of ADA is going up, it's not necessarily too big of a risk, right? But in a bear market, you want to be very careful opening up collateralized positions utilizing ADA. So this, I think, is a huge need. And I highlighted as well here at the very bottom that we've got Eric, the actual founder of Indigo, basically breaking down his thoughts surrounding this as well, right? So he's definitely all for it. Indigo's got V2 coming up right around the corner. And right now, while they don't have all of the technical specs in place to launch USDM, he is optimistic and he wants to see how much liquidity comes into USDM before making the final decision as to actually listing them utilizing Indigo. But again, I think for me, this is a no-brainer when it comes to providing stability moving forward. Now, one other thing that we haven't talked about are service-based projects in Cardano, right? So imagine, for example, somebody like Revuto, who provides subscription management on Cardano. Now they can integrate USDM. So in times past, and maybe just even breaking this down in a real world example, imagine when you pay for something like Netflix or you pay for something like Amazon Prime, you know, hey, I'm paying $60 a month and this is a recurring payment. I see it being withdrawn from my bank account, no questions asked. Well, that wasn't doable, at least in an easy way, before stablecoins coming onto Cardano, because again, if you were to denominate your services in ADA, that ADA valuation would fluctuate. So 1 month you might be paying $15 for the service. The next month you might be paying $10 or whatever, depending on the price value of ADA. With something like USDM now, projects like Revuto can now provide stability or stable pricing, which I think is a huge piece that a lot of people have kind of glossed over, but it's something that I want to just quickly highlight there as well. So Josh, I mean, quite a bit to touch on there when it comes to USDM. Maybe give us your thoughts. Do you plan on minting that? And then we're going to jump into some of the community results.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, so like it's service-based projects. It's everything. It's going to transform everything. Like NFTs could be minted in USDM. You can like transact in USDM between person to person. Like now, when you have laborers that are providing services to your project, you can pay them on chain in USDM. It transforms everything that we understand about the Cardano blockchain and how we have used the blockchain up to this point. It adds so much more functionality moving forward into the future. This is like, it's a huge fundamental shift of like what we can do with the Cardano blockchain. And that's why this is so exciting. USDM is like, I'm a huge fan of it. And like anybody, it's not just about what stablecoins can do for a team. Like Mehen specifically, I've got a video coming out this next week about them because, you know, the launch of USDM on the mainnet it's the biggest thing to happen on Cardano up to this point. It really transforms it from a decentralized network where you can, you know, develop and build different like blockchain based things to an economic ecosystem that can be accessible and transactable like directly on chain. It increases the functionality. It increases everything. And anybody who thinks that Mehen couldn't grow to compete with something like Tether or Circle, with USDC, they're not realizing how small that the industry of crypto actually is at this point. And Mehen comes to the market with such a superior product that I have no doubt that they're going to be a major competitor going into the proliferation of crypto into the future, because, gosh, this is the technology that they bring to the table to up the standards of transparency. It changes the game completely. And in addition to that, like I've been seeing the Mehen has been out there doing things to change things on the regulatory front. And that's all because of Matt Plowman. Like he's done this before, like in his past experience with working with, gosh, I'm forgetting what the name is, but like working in traditional finance, he has actively had a hand before in changing regulatory frameworks for money market funds. And like he has experience working with regulators. Mehen is the project that like one of the lines that I say in the video that I have coming up is that like, if I could push Mehen to be one of the top stablecoin providers just to get Matt Plowman up there and give him credibility to be able to change the regulatory framework in the US and Europe, like I would be pushing for that because he's done it before. And the experience that they have on Circle when it comes to traditional finance, or especially with Tether, they don't have that same experience. So like it's really exciting to see that like somebody is coming to the market with a superior product. They're going to transform this ecosystem, and they're going to make a huge impact on the regulatory framework of crypto in the industry. Like this is no doubt a mega serious project that's going to make an impact and it's going to change the world. Not just Cardano. It's going to make a big impact.
Nicely said. Let's go ahead and just jump into some of the community questions here. So I'm going to try to just jump into these rapid fire. We've got Kopi Bor. Thank you for tuning in. Zim, thank you there as well. We've got Red asking the community to smash that thumbs up. Please make sure to go ahead and do so, especially if it's your first time stopping by here on the channel, covering everything Cardano based. And of course, follow Josh at LGC or Late Game Crypto. The link to his channel right down below. Jumping into questions here. Again, this is coming in from Salamander. Is it Mehen or Mihen? I've heard it both ways. I think Matt has said Mehen in times past. We've got another question here coming in from Fartbert. I heard Charles is putting up 200 million USD for Mehen's fiat liquidity. Is that true? Fartbert, I have not heard that, but that would be amazing, right? Because the proposal for MinSwap, I think, is talking about 125K at the most. $200 million worth would dwarf that, right? So that would be a huge amount to invest. I know Charles probably has the funds to be able to do that. Whether or not he wants to do that, that's of course, he's not obligated to do so, but I personally have not heard anything about that particular rumor. We've got Bobby's Bits. Has anyone heard any more around the Endcoins / Anastasia's lab, peerless on-ramp and off-ramp collaboration? I did sit down with Philip not too long ago, and I sat down with Vlad to actually talk to them about this particular proposal. Check out, I want to say maybe it was maybe about a month ago, but check out my playlist for Project Catalyst. There is a little bit of information there, and also jump into the actual Catalyst app. They have all the details in the proposal highlighting exactly how this will utilize ZK proofs and exactly how you can go from ADA to fiat and fiat to ADA without having to use a centralized exchange. We've got Salamander again. Only people-sized businesses from the US can mint. I believe right now that is the case. This is the US-based launch with 17 states currently being supported. And right now, they don't support retail. That will be coming very, very soon. We've got Sherrier. Gentlemen, how about when you wish to get USDM to fiat, you've got to pay a minimum of $50, which is steep. That is fair. The fees, let me actually get those pulled up here on the screen. I believe range between $50 all the way to $5,000, depending on how much you're burning, but it will always be 1.5%. Now, Sherrier, keep in mind the team did state in their latest article that fees is not the way that they're looking to earn and keep the platform running. It's going to be based off of the interest earned by the actual Mehen or the fiat reserve that they're holding at the bank. They also reserve the right to change the fees. So while this is the fees initially, I don't think this will be the end all be all. Point in case, take Jet, for example. When they initially launched, I think they had like a limit or a minimum mint amount of about 10,000 Jet, and like the minimum fee was around $100 or something like that. And it's now dropped to about 5 ADA, right? So again, early on, the people didn't want people minting uselessly when it came to Jet, and therefore they had a higher barrier to entry when it came to minting. And then as time went on and Jet actually came online, that fee was dramatically reduced, right? So hopefully we get to see a reduction in fees moving forward. We've got another question coming in here from Glafgos. Has anyone seen a roadmap or light paper or white paper for the Smart Places team or the Smart Places project? If you're not aware of Smart Places, they're a social fi platform built utilizing AI and augmented reality. I'm actually going to be sitting down with Bjorn this coming Monday to talk about everything Smart Places. They've got an ongoing airdrop, and they've been around the space for quite a bit of time, Glafgos. They've had their NFT mint, which took place, I want to say, about 2 years ago, right when the bear market actually kicked off. So you can pick up some of their land plots, but the premise of the actual platform is you can purchase these land plots that represent geographical locations on the real earth. And as people interact and engage in terms of social activity on those platforms, you're then able to earn their SPX token. So if you have any specific questions, leave them down below. I'll make sure to ask Bjorn when I sit down with them this coming Monday. Last question coming in from Sherrier. I wonder what type of impermanent loss will go with the with the ADA/USDM liquidity pool. Isn't there one without impermanent loss? The one without impermanent loss, and I don't want to say without impermanent loss, it'll be low impermanent loss, will be, I believe, the stable swaps. So we've got the MinSwap team working on stable swaps. We've got Wing Riders, which has already launched stable swaps. But the reason why that is because you're trading two assets of the same exact value, right? You're trading from one stable coin to another stable coin, and that allows for you to do that with much bigger amounts, with low price impact and low slippage. Now, in terms of the impermanent loss with ADA/USDM, that's going to be really hard to dictate. Again, with the price of Cardano fluctuating every single day, in the fact that we're in a bull market. I definitely think that will be a permanent loss. How much will be seen when we actually get the pools that go live. So that was quite a bit there. When it comes to questions, we're going to jump into a couple of more here in just a minute. But let's shift gears, into the recent ETP listing. And Josh, I want to get your take on that as well. So we've got Liquid, which has now listed the CASL ticker on the third largest exchange, I believe, which is Swiss 6, in Switzerland. So again, I highlighted this yesterday. They provide direct access to Cardano, or direct exposure to Cardano, in collaboration with the Cardano Foundation. Fees currently set at 1.5% compared to 2.5% when it comes to 21 shares in Grayscale. And one thing that I still cannot, okay, it is updated. Thank goodness. So yesterday, when I shot this video, the assets under management showed 90 billion. And I could not for the life of me figure out what that was referring to, because again, that dwarfs any other sort of asset under management that we've seen. For example, with 21 shares, I think has $69 million worth of ADA, and then Grayscale has $4 or $5 million worth of ADA. So this has been updated. Looks like they did have a typo. This is now showing $1.49 million worth of ADA. Here's the currency here, under management for the ETP. So really, really exciting news to see. Let me quickly pull up my calculator. And let me just do a little bit of math here on the fly. So we got 1.4 million times the value of ADA right now, which is trading at about 70 cents. That gives us about, oh, I think I did that backwards. Let me just do this one more time. That gives us about 2 million ADA right now, which the team is currently in charge of. So really interesting to see. Again, keep in mind that this is a little bit different than the other ones in the sense that they're not only going to be getting exposure to the price performance of ADA as we go into the bull market, they're also going to be getting on top of that their Cardano staking rewards. So Josh, quite a bit there from me. What are your thoughts surrounding Liquid, the impact that this has, and just the exposure for Cardano overall?
Yeah, so my excitement around this isn't that like it's going to bring, millions or billions of dollars into the Cardano ecosystem. I mean, it might. It's a really big deal when it comes to institutional adoption, when it comes to fundamentals and accessibilities of the Cardano ecosystem to the greater world. I just Googled it. The Swiss stock exchange is the third largest in Europe. So it's not something to scoff at as if it's nothing. But what I'm most excited about is what this demonstrates on a regulatory standpoint from a global perspective. The Switzerland, the economy of Switzerland. I haven't looked up the 2024 numbers, but for a long time, Switzerland has held on the economic freedom index as the #1 country in the world. So what this demonstrates by Switzerland coming in and sort of like establishing some adoption for Cardano, it establishes unbiased legitimacy, because in Switzerland, there's no biases that come from regulation. There's no biases of wanting one chain over another or wanting one asset to pump over another asset. Switzerland is a free market space that they select things just based on their merit. They select things just based on the quality of the product that is produced, the potential of what has to come, and the security and legitimacy of it moving forward. The fact that a Switzerland institution is looking at the Cardano ecosystem and saying, I want to get involved in this. I see value here. I'm not coming at it from a perspective of I want this thing to pump over that thing. It's a free market there, and it's the most free market on the planet, and they want Cardano involved in their economy. They want people to access it from their stock market exchange. So that's what I'm most excited about on this move, is that it demonstrates that people naturally, if they weren't impacted by biases of regulation and who wins and what kind of controlling organizations benefit from one thing or the other, the one that doesn't benefit from all of these things, the most free market economy, wants this as a part of their overall economic system. They want people to get access to it. That's what I'm most excited about. This says something. And yeah, so when I read all this stuff, I was like, this isn't going to be the thing that changes the face of Cardano forever, but it does make a big statement on a global perspective, and that's what I really appreciated about it.
Yeah, for me personally, it's the fact that a homegrown project was able to help get this done, right? So this really kind of showed to me the power that some of the projects in the space possess, right? So I would say never underestimate any project here. And in addition to that, right after this announcement, Liquid also gave us a teaser of Liquid V2. So this team is definitely on fire, taking advantage of the eyeballs and the momentum. And I highlighted in my video that the token price is now up above, I want to say 60% given the last 2 days. So obviously non-financial investment, I would probably wait a little bit for things to cool off, whatever. But it was just really interesting to see that, announcement like that can have such a big impact on the actual valuation of a project here. Now, I want to go ahead and just take a couple more questions here. A lot of really solid commentary coming in. I want to give a shout out to Red here from the Ethereum community. Stumbled into the stream, first time viewer, very impressed with the quality of the info and the professional vibes. Subscribing now to keep up with the good work. Thank you, Red, for coming in here from a different ecosystem, really hearing us out here in Cardano. We welcome you, and hopefully this becomes the norm, right? As the space grows, you find out about other creators, other projects, and you just kind of listen in. I've been doing that, I think, with a little bit of Polygon and a little bit of Avalanche as well. So thank you for subscribing, and also check out Josh's channel. The link to it is down below. Let's jump into some of the questions that I've got started here. Let me just go ahead and get these other ones out of the way. Give me just a moment. So we've got Bobby's Bits. Wagwan, my friend. Do you know if there's a deep dive on the technical or the technological differences between USDC and USDM? Shameless plug here. If you want content surrounding this, I mean, I want to say like my last, let me just pull this up here. My last maybe 8 to 9 sort of USDC videos have all been in comparison with USDM, right? So there's obviously USDC pulling out of the Tron ecosystem. There's Cardano versus USDC, where I kind of break down the differences between USDC and USDM. And then again, just a lot of other USDC based videos talking about the benefits and the potential drawbacks as well of USDC, right? So again, try to be fair, try not to lean to either way. It's obviously up to you to make that decision, but definitely check out some of my prior videos. If you head over to the channel, you can just search for USDC and you're going to get a ton of these other USDC based videos out there. I believe Josh has also released a little bit of content. Feel free to jump over to his channel and search for USDC or stablecoin in his viewer history. Another question coming in from Jenin Pal. Thank you, longtime supporter here on the channel. Why is Axo not listed on DeFi Llama? They are working on it. Yarrick just came out saying that this takes time, but they are working on it. They will be getting listed on DeFi Llama. So expect for a brief boost in TVL when that does occur. In addition, the Axo team has just released a ton of new features, which include, I believe, prediction markets, lending and borrowing, just to name a few that they will be bringing on here in the course of the next year or so. So Axo definitely a huge contender here in the space. I want to take a minute to answer that question. And I think there are a few more here. So let me just quickly pull them up. Let's see here. How high do you think this USDM will take the Cardano price to? So, I mean, again, it's not USDC, right? They have billions of dollars, but I think what it will do is allow, like Josh mentioned earlier, for liquidity to stay in the ecosystem when the next bear market comes. So I'm not sure, Josh, if you want to take a stab at this, I'm not sure how big of an impact it's going to have on the upside of price, but I think when people want to cash out, take profits and go into something stable, that we're really going to see a lot of USDM being minted and being brought on chain.
Yeah, from my perspective, so I think, like I mentioned, it'll be a lot like the Bitcoin ETF. It's not going to have an immediate impact on the price of ADA because it's an increase in fundamentals. It's an increase in accessibility. It needs some time to develop trust, but I think that it will have an impact. I think because of the integration of USDM and the value that stablecoins can bring to the ecosystem, I would guess that not really much short-term impact at all, but I think it'll bring us probably pretty close to our all-time high of $3.10 by the end of Q3, maybe end of Q4 of this year. That would be my prediction.
Thank you for that. Interesting comment coming in from Jen and Pal as well. I want to get your take on this too. So I had Viva LaCoin on the channel yesterday talking about the macroeconomics and how that plays into crypto and specifically Cardano. But this comment stating, worst investment I did was to buy ADA while SOL is flying. Jenin, do not be discouraged. This is exactly what happened last time, right? When you try to chase some of these pumps, you will get left behind. As soon as you're going to sell your ADA backs to go into Sol, that's when Cardano is going to pump. And I think a lot of people get frustrated when they see other ecosystems and other tokens being pumped with their token not pumping, right? But this is exactly what we saw at last bull market, where Cardano pumped. I think it was about 4 weeks after Bitcoin hit a new all-time high. And so now that we've just a new all-time high, this I think is a great time for people to begin to position themselves into altcoins, but they're all going to pop off at different times. If you take a look at the charts historically, Cardano topped out at a much different time than Solana did. Avalanche topped out at a much different time than Cardano did. Polygon topped out at a much different time than Ethereum did. So they all take their turn. And what's happening is liquidity is literally moving from one ecosystem to another, right? You have these whales, VCs, etc., who are making money in Solana right now, which again, I personally have my reasoning as to why they're pumping. That's for another conversation. But once people have made profit in that ecosystem, they're going to be looking for another ecosystem to come into, and eventually Cardano will get its turn. So don't be discouraged. I know that you're not the only person feeling this way. I've seen a lot of comments like this about people, wondering why Solana has 10x and Cardano is only 3x. But Cardano will get its day, and when it does, you'll be glad that you were in the ecosystem and that you didn't, get fudded out, or that you didn't sell to buy into the hype for other ecosystems. All right, we've got, let's see here, some more support coming in here from Sherrier. Josh, I love your channel. Love the 100x videos. Josh, he has been getting a little bullish lately. I've noticed those videos coming out along, and myself included. I want to take a moment to say, as creators, we have to adapt, right? Just like as an investor, you have to invest a certain way during the bear market. You've got to invest a different way when it comes to the bull market. As a creator, we create certain type of content during the bear. That might shift a little bit. Now, the underlying content is still aiming to be educational, not by any means shilling a project, but you have to figure out a way to get people in the door, and you do that through the title and the thumbnail. And right now, there's a lot of competition out there, right? So I think you're going to see a lot more of those 100x videos, but definitely do be careful as to who you're listening to, and make sure to make sure to do your own due diligence.
More of those 100x videos. That's a video series that I did specifically where I thought that the bottom of the bull market was. So I set those videos and predictions in place because it's from that point that I think that they will 100x, because this is the lowest point of the value. I'm not going to be doing any of those 100x videos when the bull market's in full swing, because not that the opportunity has passed, but that it's a lot less likely as things start moving, get exciting, and things appreciate in value, that that 100x window it becomes less and less likely. The growth potential is when it's at its lowest, when we're at the bottom of the bull market, and that's why you stick around in this market even when things are not exciting. People are not not talking about stuff. So that's where that video series come from. So I'm not doing any of those 100x videos from this point forward.
Fair enough. I'm glad you're able to clear the air. And as I mentioned earlier, Cornucopia is already doing a 10x. That was very, very impressive to see. Another one that's really caught a lot of people off guard was Igon. I think they've already done more than a 50x since they moved over into Cardano. So as you mentioned, you're right. A lot of these picks, you would have had to been paying attention back in the bear market to now be up significantly. Otherwise, you are taking a risk now trying to come in here buying at the tops in hopes that the price continues to go higher. Some more support coming in from Sherrier. Nothing shameless about myself here. Great content. Thank you, Sherrier, for tuning in. Definitely do appreciate it. A question here about Cardano falling out of the top 10. This is an interesting one from Eve Boat. What if Cardano disappears from the top 10 market cap? Is this a problem for growth? What do you think is next? Charles has always mentioned price is a lagging indicator. I tend to believe so as well. If Cardano falls out of the top 10, it will inevitably jump back in there because of the fundamentals. Yes, Cardano is hated amongst the community, but I think it's because we're doing things right, and because VC investors were not given an opportunity like they have been in other chains, i.e. Solana, which is currently pumping right now, right? So again, read between the lines here. While Cardano may not be the favored crypto project here, the fundamentals will make it so it cannot be denied, right? As much as you want to FUD Cardano, we've got perfect uptime. We've got one of the most robust frameworks when it comes to Haskell and smart contracting development. And then on top of that, we're most decentralized. Take a look at the EDI index that came out not too long ago. When you're going to begin to look at bigger players like Google, Amazon, Microsoft, when we get to the point in which they're looking for infrastructure they're going to want to go with the players that are most reliable. Inevitably, that will leave Cardano. So even though we may not be number 2, number 3 right now, we might be getting flipped by Doge. They don't provide value. They don't provide utility. Once the bear market kicks back in, they will drop. Cardano will maintain its spot, and we're only just getting started. So, Josh, anything you want to add to that?
No, I think you captured it perfectly. There's a question that I asked in one of my videos, and like to this day, it's one of the, I think, most thought-provoking things that I asked on any video that I've done, which is that, like, if the price of ADA doesn't move in the slightest from the price of where it's at right now, does that mean that Cardano is a failure? Does that mean that it has failed in what it's trying to do and the transformational impact that it has on the world? The correct answer to that question is no. Like, because the point is not to increase the value of the token. The value of the token does naturally increase as more people find value in it, as more people use what it has to offer. So that's what you want to be looking at, is the fundamentals of increasing what's happening on the chain, what people can use it for, what freedoms that it increases for people in the world. And as that comes, people are naturally drawn to that ecosystem because they want to use what it has to offer. They want to take advantage of the security benefits of that Cardano has to offer over a lot of these other chains. They don't want to have to deal with the downtime that other chains have to deal with. That value proposition is what people come for, and it's what they stay for. And that value proposition, it's a lot less attractive than those 200% gains in the course of like a month's time frame. People are attracted to that in the short term, but they don't stay for that. So that's the big difference. Like ADA is a long-term play, and it's constantly increasing its fundamentals, and that's reliable. That's something that you can count on. So yeah, that's what I would say about that.
Nicely said. Doug seems to agree with you. We've also got Zash also agreeing, right, that even if it drops out of the top 10, this will be temporary. We've got Wesley highlighting the fact that the Bitcoin halving will be taking place in 33 days, which I think will be interesting, right? Will that be a catalyst for even more pumps? I'm not sure. We'll just have to see, but it is right around the corner. Zash saying thank you for the explanation. We've got Noms talking about chasing pumps in other ecosystems. Chase pumps and you always lose. Just believe in something and stick with it. I think that's a really good way to put it. We've got Fart Burp. Fundamentals will always win in the long run. David from Pseudo Malacca. Speaking of top tier Cardano projects, is there anything more sad than ViFi/ADA chart? What's going on over there? They just actually released a nice little teaser. I believe we'll be sitting down with Stephen from ViFi to talk a little bit about what they're building. But I mean, they continue to build. A lot of tokens in this ecosystem are still down. Keep in mind when it comes to liquidity, especially in the bull market, it starts off with Bitcoin, the big daddy. From there, we begin to see Ethereum taking over in dominance and a lot of profits from Bitcoin shifting over into Ethereum. And then after that, it goes from Ethereum to large caps, which include ADA, Polygon, Solana, Matic, etc. And then from there, you've got micro caps, which are ecosystem tokens that then pump at the very end. So, David, if you are in ViFi, I would just say, and I mean, well, let me actually give any financial advice. If you're in ViFi, that is the case. My point is, these tokens that are at the ecosystem level will not pump until the very, very end. So just keep that in mind. But if you have any questions for my interview or sit down here coming up with Stephen from ViFi, let me know. I'm more than happy to go ahead and ask him. We've got Viva Rantex, huge supporter here on the channel and on X. Thank you, Viva. I appreciate you so much agreeing here with me. Let's see here. So many comments. It's really hard for me to keep up with, man. When does USDM launch? So Tyler Berry, they are launching today. If you've gone ahead and KYC'd, you will be able to begin minting USDM. As soon as I've got more information surrounding their token or policy ID and exactly how we can view how much has been minted, I'll make sure to go ahead and share that here with an additional video. We've got Quan, excuse me, price equals value plus emotion. Cardano's providing a lot of value. I'm not sure about the emotion piece though there. A lot of people really liking the 100x videos. Let's see here. I mean, again, so many comments to jump through. Salamander, am I going to race Josh in Cornucopias just like Pete did? I'm more than happy to. My thing is I need to get a new computer. My computer is way too slow right now to be able to run everything and stream at the same time. It takes a lot of resources, but I will be investing in a brand new desktop moving forward. All right, we've got Red again, reminding everybody if it's your first time stopping by, please smash that thumbs up. It makes a huge difference here. We've got over 200 people here watching the live stream right now. Definitely do appreciate it. I do realize that I did not jump into the poll results. So right now we've got 67% of the community stating yes, they will be minting USDM when it opens up, with 33% stating no, they won't be minting. Now, I would assume that if you're not minting, you just plan on getting it on a DEX and then just using it that way without necessarily using it to off ramp. All right, let's see here. We've got Arctic Igloo staking some more. Thank you for doing that. Let's see here. I mean, again, we're going to jump into some of these questions in just a moment. I am having a really, really hard time keeping up with them, but I appreciate everybody tuning in and sharing their thoughts. Let's maybe kind of shift gears here. If there's no additional questions or comments from you, Josh, surrounding the ETP, I want to quickly talk a little bit more. Let's see what we had on the agenda for the next topic. Some of the 2024 narratives. So you're huge right now. I know in the gaming niche, you got a lot of the cornucopias community behind you. I know that that's one of the narratives that you kind of brought forward in prior times. What projects are you eyeing? What narratives and why?
Yeah. So yeah, like you just said, like cornucopias is it's at the top of my radar right now. Just because gaming, uh, the industry of gaming outside of crypto is growing faster than almost every other industry. It's growing compared to like all other forms of media, like streaming, the movie industry. What else is out there? Music, all kinds of entertainment media. Gaming is growing the fastest out of all of those things. So when something like blockchain comes along and offers a new technological framework that adds different utilities and new use cases and transforms that gaming experience, I think people are going to be rushing into, in a world where like crypto sees proliferation. Gamers are always looking for the newest thing. Gamers are always looking for the most exciting thing, and I think that the gaming sector of crypto is one of the biggest, hottest narratives that people want to be looking at. There are creators out there in the crypto world that are dedicated to crypto gaming, and that was the same thing that happened with like DeFi projects, back when DeFi exploded. Like there were creators that were specifically out there creating content about DeFi. So the fact that there's going to be more content out there for people to consume, it's going to bring more attention to it. It's going to bring more education to it. People are going to be rushing into through this narrative specifically through gaming. And Cornucopias very uniquely stands out among the industry, both on a technological standpoint and a creativity standpoint. They're really out there creating things that nobody else is doing, and they're really, really like on that cutting edge of technology, innovation, creativity. They stand out in so many different ways, and I'm thinking that there's going to be some headlines coming in this next bull market, talking about Cornucopias being the biggest in-game universe in Web3, maybe even the biggest universe in like all of gaming. Like they're that ambitious, and the fact that they're moving forward and exploding the way that they're exploding, it's because like they've been stockpiling their marketing budget to like up to this point. Like they're just now starting to spend money on marketing for the first time just this past year. And by this year, I mean 2024. They've got a huge war chest because marketing is most effective in crypto right now. When the market starts heating up, when people start getting exciting, and yeah, like they've got a lot of room to grow, and it's amazing what they've accomplished with just like 50,000 followers on X. But like all of these other games out here, they've got 300 plus thousand. Some of them are getting up to like 800, 900,000 and up in the millions. So like that's the amount of growth potential. That's the size of the audience that just exists right now that doesn't know about Cornucopias yet. So yeah, Cornucopias it's still incredibly small. It's less than $100 million market cap, which is what major finance creators in the space, that's what they're looking for. And like that they're looking for those low value tokens. Less than 100 million is like nothing compared to a lot of what's out there in the greater gaming sector, in the greater crypto sector. So like, yeah, it's exciting right now, and it's going to stay exciting through the rest of this year. It's going to be a wild one.
Nicely put. Again, one of the most dedicated teams that I've sort of hung around with, had the pleasure of meeting them at 4 out of the last 5 events that I've attended, and looking forward to what they're doing. Now, keep in mind, we do also have Pavia. We've got PNC Performance. I like what Pavia is doing. They're also building a metaverse, and I believe they've also expanded to go multi-chain or cross-chain. So that's also something that I'm beginning to see more and more often now, right? Projects that started initially in Cardano beginning to branch out into Ethereum, Polygon, Matic, Avalanche, right? I think this is just the very beginning. Fartburp, again, really nice commentary. Real-time messaging partner chains will bring a lot of value to Cardano and GameFi. I tend to agree, right? Which is why I think we need to really put a lot of focus and emphasis on this framework with the introduction of Midnight as a proof of concept, right? And then after that, once we got the framework built out, we can begin to pass it along for anybody else who wants to take advantage of that partner chain model in order to begin to leverage Cardano, etc. Now, interesting comment here. Maybe we can kind of stick on this for a little bit here. From Do Not You. Crypto was always about being your own bank, I assume, not your own back. Now it's a bunch of apes and dogs talking about AI in games. Josh, I'll maybe give you a second to think. For me personally, I tend to agree, which is why I try to keep my channel focused more or less on the professional aspects of what the space has to bring. But I also understand that this space is permissionless, right? So anybody can come in here, join a part of a community. And when you're talking about these apes, I assume you're referring to, Pepe, Snek, these meme tokens, right? Which, to be honest, they provide a sense of community. That's why I think a lot of people are so drawn to memes. People talk about memes, they talk about Doge. Yes, it doesn't have utility, but why is it continuously in the top 10, sometimes even flipping Cardano? Because of the community. And that's what brings people in. So while a lot of people don't like the apes, cats, dogs, frogs, and hogs, I think that they do bring in people here, and they create a sense of community, which we definitely do need. But I think as the space matures, they will begin to fade out. Again, my personal take. But Josh, maybe over to you surrounding, the original intentions of crypto following the banking crisis in 2008 and where we are now with memes and NFTs.
I mean, I'd echo kind of the same sentiment, like basically the exact same thing. The principles of crypto is that this is a free open market where people can do whatever the heck they want. And that includes, creating meme coins and like NFTs and stuff. Like, I think that's just symptomatic of what happens when you give people freedom. They will come up with the most wild stuff. Sometimes it's kind of dumb. Sometimes it's more clever than we give it credit for. And it does different things. It serves different purposes. As the market matures, some things will fall off. Some things will come out ahead. That's the point of the free market, is that you give people free reign to creatively develop whatever they want, and more innovation will come out of that. More growth will come out of that. And a greater sense of education, I would say, also comes out of that, because people have to adapt to and learn about the space if they want to survive.
And Doug Nasty also adds a really great point here, right? That banking is just one of many use cases. So I think that was, again, the original reason why it came about, but utilizing this structure, right? Providing transparency, immutability, accessibility, that can provide benefits to more than just the banking system, which is why you're starting to see all these different niches come out and adopt crypto. Interesting piece here again when it comes to just Cardano and its performance. This is coming in from Zimcoin ADA. I've noticed a wave of FUD, which is exactly the same, just like Lifecycle before ADA exploded in melted faces. Zoom out, hold on, and let's build together. I mean, we've held on for the last 2 years. At this point, I'm just like, man, we just have to just see it through the finish line, and we can all rejoice together. Of course, make sure to have an exit plan. That is so key. I talked yesterday about the 18-year cycle where I believe, in my opinion, in the last 2 years, where everybody's going to be able to make money. It's going to be super simple to make money, right? If you've been here, you've been investing in ADA, you've been hodling, you're going to make money. But make sure to have an exit plan. Understand what signals you're going to be looking for to pull out. Will it be price-based? Will it be time-based? What sentiment or what triggers are you looking for? When people are talking about crypto at the Thanksgiving dinner, could that be a top signal? begin to take a look at those things. Let's take a couple more questions here, and then I believe we can maybe just kind of begin to wrap down. We have over 476 viewers, 296 coming in from X or Twitter, and then 189 coming in here from YouTube. So thank you everybody for tuning in here. Definitely do appreciate it. Again, if it's your first time stopping by, check out the description down below. Subscribe to the channel, subscribe to Josh's channel, both here Cardano-based content creators that were with you guys here during the entire bear market. So we appreciate you guys sticking with us here as well. A couple more questions from the community. Coming in from PNC Performance. What's the take on NMaker and IMX? I know Patrick and Tim from IMX are extremely close. They've now put together Finest investing in RWAs or real world assets. And I like both projects. I believe over 40 to maybe 50% now of NFTs minted on Cardano are coming directly from NMaker. They've now also recently partnered up with an NFT project to actually have the NMaker token be the driver of that particular NFT project. It's not Omen, but it's another one that Viva had just mentioned yesterday. The name is slipping my mind. So NMaker continuing to develop, continuing to integrate. And then in terms of IMX, they recently just got funded with a interesting proposal for Project Catalyst with DocuFi, a way to sign documents utilizing Web3 technology. So think of, for example, DocuSign, which is a Web2 version of being able to sign documents. They're going to be doing something very similar to that, in addition to their core offering, which is the identity solution, which I believe will be blockchain agnostic. So both projects seem extremely solid to me. I know IMX has been taking a little bit longer to develop and push out their product, but they are a stack team. Jump over to their website, check out their white paper. When I looked at their business model and how they plan on operating, it all made sense to me. Again, in this space, we have to wait for these projects to build. It's not going to be built overnight, but don't get weary. If you believe in the project, just be patient and hopefully everything works out. All right, we've got FX. I'm not even gonna take a shot at that last name right there. When do you guys think that ADA will see the top, and when will the microcaps also see a top? In terms of time, I think it's really hard to tell. We saw last market Cardano topping out about 3 months before Bitcoin topped out. So Bitcoin did a double top, right? Hit 65,000 in, I want to say it was like June, July-ish. And then it had a dip and then it popped back up again in November. When it had that first hit at 65,000, Cardano had pumped up to, I want to say about $2-ish. And then when Bitcoin made that second rally up to 69,000, Cardano was actually ahead of it, hitting that $3.10 high. And then it topped out in September, and then Bitcoin followed after that and then topped out in November. So again, all these altcoins top at a different stages, but I think that following the ADA top is when you're really going to see a lot of these micro caps in the ecosystem beginning to pump, as more people who've made profit from ADA will begin to roll that liquidity into other potential opportunities that have yet to pump when the time comes. Now, interestingly enough, we also even saw the NFT market popping in around January of 2022, which technically the bear market had already started, right? So that was like the very last thing to pop. And I took notice. So I'm wondering if that's going to be the same thing this time around, where Bitcoin, Ethereum, micro caps or large caps, and then micro caps pump. And then we have the very end of the cycle with NFTs getting, the last of the liquidity before everybody's sort of out and the bear market is back on for another 2 to 3 years. Josh, maybe anything you want to add here? I know you're not into TA, but I'm interested to get your perspective on this.
Yeah, no, I do want to follow up on this one actually, because it's a much more interesting question than people give it credit for, because Cardano has, like, up until this point has been developing on an island. Like, people in mainstream crypto have no idea about anything that is being built in the ecosystem. They have no idea about different innovations and things that are being built. They haven't heard of any of it because nobody in their circles has been talking about it. It's just been Cardano people that have been talking about it. So there's all of these different products that are creating these different things, to the point where, things that are innovating over on Ethereum, like new features, like limit orders, happening on Uniswap. We've had that on MinSwap and like other features and stuff for like 2 years now. Like, it's people don't realize that the fundamentals of like where Cardano's come. It's starting to come to a place where, like, we're matching and even exceeding in a lot of different areas what's being developed on other chains, and nobody has any clue about it. Like, we've been developing on this island and it's kept the price down, arguably artificially. Like, mainstream crypto people have been driving people away from Cardano for the longest time. And there's this like whole pool of value that exists in this ecosystem that's at such a low evaluation that people would lose their minds if anything of this fundamental level existed on any of these other chains. So what I would say to that is that it's going to be wildly unpredictable, because once people start to discover these things, they start to discover what's being built in this ecosystem, it's going to explode like crazy. And when people see that, like, projects that are $2 to $10 million market caps doesn't exist anywhere else, when people start to see that wildly low evaluation all of a sudden explode 10x in like a week's time frame, people are going to start turning some heads, and then people are going to start flooding into it, because it's like, I think that there's going to be a narrative of Cardano altcoins exploding out of nowhere because it's at such a low evaluation that when it explodes, people really like start to FOMO and want to grab what's happening in this ecosystem because it's been so hidden for so long. So what I would say is watch the multi-chain projects, the projects that are expanding to get exposure to other cryptocurrency communities. Those are going to be the first indicators, and those are going to be the ones that help people discover what's happening in the Cardano ecosystem. So I'm talking about Cornucopias, I'm talking about Meld, I'm talking about World Mobile, all of those projects that have expanded their token multi-chain. People are going to discover Cardano through those projects. So when those projects start to do well, look at that as an indicator for people starting to discover what's happening in Cardano.
Nicely put there. Again, I think you bring a lot of value and perspective, and I want to thank you here, Josh, for your time. We have been going for quite a bit here. I think we're going to maybe just take a couple more questions. In terms of narratives, we've got Iagon, which has been one surrounding the deep end space, coming in here from Matt Maloney. I definitely agree. Again, they have had a run already, but imagine when people coming from outside of Cardano begin to see what they've already built and begin to invest in them here as well. We've got Wesley, fellow Meld ambassador, right? Highlighting Kopi and how he agrees with that particular game and that narrative, but then also being your own bank, which I think Meld will execute very, very well. I know that we had that on the agenda, was to jump into their testnet. I think just for time's sake, we'll keep that for another stream. But Meld, I think, is going to do an awesome job when it comes to providing people the ability to really become their own bank. Again, we just saw the tease 2 of Liquid V2, and then we just saw the release of LenFi V2 as well, right? So a lot of these protocols beginning to iterate, provide more features, and to provide more value. But I think that banking narrative is definitely one that will be huge as well. We've got Arctic Igloo reminding us, don't buy into the noise, buy and hodl. All right. We've got Fartburp asking if I need some moderators. I don't actually have any moderators here for these streams. I did go ahead and just put one of the chatters in timeout here just for spamming a little bit. If you guys are interested in becoming a moderator, I'm more than happy to have you on. So Fartburp, let me know what you want to do when it comes to that. Let's see here. Let's jump into a couple more questions. Let's see here. Are there any plans for mobile gaming on Cardano? Jamal, welcome to the stream. You're not late, but definitely make sure to jump in and catch the replay. Mobile gaming, Josh, what's your thoughts on that? Because I know Cornucopias was working on a mobile version of their game, but they didn't want people to mistake that for the full-blown game, and they've kind of repivoted, right, to focusing on the PC version of the game. But what are your thoughts surrounding mobile gaming?
Yeah. For Cornucopias, mobile has been shelved. It's not something that we're probably going to see in the foreseeable future. When it comes to mobile gaming, I think Goombles is going to lead the charge on that front. They are focused on mobile gaming. It's the most accessible way for people to do gaming in the space. Goombles, that's like their focus. That's their whole jam. And I've played the game before, and it's a lot of fun. I think that they're really going to be bringing a good product to the front.
Thank you there. Just a quick word here for Fartburp. You are the first ever moderator for the Dap Central YouTube channel, so you've now been upgraded to a mod. Thank you for tuning in and providing us here with a nice, clean, and family-friendly chat here. All right, we've got Farah G tuning in here. Roberto, any thoughts on Genius Yield? Solid project, in my opinion. I just mentioned they've got multiple market maker bots coming in here to help out with liquidity. Their TVL is beginning to grow. And if you hold the Gens token and you are staking that, you can earn 20% of the fees generated by the DEX, not just paid out in ADA, but in the tokens that are being swapped on the DEX platform as well. So make sure to go ahead and check them out if you haven't already. But in my eyes, they are a solid contributor here to the ecosystem. We've got PNC Performance highlighting NewNet from AGIX. They have definitely been one of the bigger gainers here in the past couple of weeks. I've seen a lot of people trading AGIX, talking about AGIX, and I think that will only continue as the narrative around AI continues. I think that will probably bring us to the end here, Josh. It's been about an hour and 15. I am going to be getting ready for an additional stream with Clover Nodes and Rob from the World Mobile Project to dive into everything going on there. So I do want to take a quick break. But Josh, let's turn it over to you for closing thoughts and comments. So anything you want to maybe just kind of end out here for the community?
Yeah. Farida, as always, it's a pleasure to be on the show, to share about, what we observe happening. It's we can see it really heating up. People are starting to search for this kind of content, and with good reason, because things are starting to get exciting, not just in the market, but fundamentally speaking. Remember, like, this, literally this day, like at the time of we're streaming this video, the world of DeFi and functionality and fundamentals and how we understand what happens in the Cardano ecosystem, from this day, it changes in a number of different ways. Like, the stablecoin is going to change a bunch of things. Projects all over the space are starting to be discovered. Fundamentals and utility are going like crazy, and people are prepared for it. So yeah, it's really going to be a transformative year moving forward from this point. And I'm just excited to be along for the ride and help contribute in whatever way that I can. I'm grateful to be here. So thank you all for watching. I appreciate it.
Nicely put. I've got nothing else to add. Ladies and gentlemen, if you guys are already subscribed to LGC or Late Game Crypto, please make sure to do so. Links down below. We've just crossed over 500 combined viewers watching live right now, 328 via X and 180 via YouTube. Thank you all for tuning in here. Really appreciate it. Hopefully you guys found this to be useful. Again, I will be going live very shortly here with Clover and Rob discussing everything World Mobile. But as always, if you enjoyed today's content and you found any of this to be useful, I'd appreciate you if you could smash that thumbs up. If it's your first time stopping by Dapp Central and you want more content like this, consider subscribing. As always, check out Josh's channel as well. Last but not least, if you're watching this as a part of the replay and you have any questions or comments surrounding anything we've discussed, then please make sure to go and leave a comment down below. That said, and as always, we'll see you all in the next video. Cheers, everybody. Have a good one.